Hello, my name is Marcus T. Anthony. Welcome to the 5-Minute Mystic. This is the YouTube video blog that regularly defies the laws of physics, converting 5 minutes into 10 minutes or more. And before you say anything, yeah, I know it's a bad haircut. Never get a $5 haircut in Chinatown. But I do have an unfeasibly cheap lawyer on the case, just in case you're wondering. Now, let's get on with the serious business of spirituality and the modern mystic, because this is these are very serious topics we have here, as you know. Okay, today's email comes from Penny, and she does talk about a very serious topic here. She says, "Dear Marcus, I'm reading the Mind Reader book right now, about halfway through, and loving it, but it's also difficult for me because there's a lot of darkness in myself, and so the book is rather disturbing. I know that I have a lot of hard work to do, and I hope I will have enough courage. It is also a good book to read as a companion to your Discover Your Soul template." That's another book of mine. "You sure have had an amazing life, and I thank you for sharing it with us. I've also found your videos on YouTube, and they're so very helpful too. Well, I hope you find this one. And I like your sense of humour. Thanks, Penny." Okay, well, The Mind Reader is a semi-autobiographical novel which I put on Amazon Kindle, and it is fictional in the sense that the actual story didn't happen, but it's a condensation of about 20 years of my life into a fictional story of 1 year featuring a university student named Greg Marks. All the characters in that book are fictional, just in case you're a little paranoid and thinking it's about you. No, it's not, and I have to say that, of course, because my lawyer is unfeasibly cheap. But actually, many of the things that happened in that novel really did happen to me. I just condensed them into a short period of time, and the overall framework is fictional. But many of the events did actually happen, and I describe a lot of things in that book which may disturb some people about consciousness fields and energy projections from mind to mind, that kind of thing. And so this is the background to what Penny's writing here. So I'm just going to answer a part of what Penny has asked here today, because there's really two different things, or two related things, but which are slightly different here. The first thing is the idea of shadow work, looking at your own shadow, or what lies within your own mind. This is the classical, Jungian or Freudian introspection. You can use dreams, or you can go to a therapist and look at what lies within yourself. The second part is the psychic part, which I'm not going to deal with today. Okay, I'm going to deal with that in a second video. Okay, the first thing. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to divide this into pros and cons. We've just got 5 minutes or so I'm not going to go into too much detail. So what are some of the good things about doing shadow work, and what benefits can it have? The first thing is that you develop a much greater level of honesty with yourself, a much greater level of transparency. So really, in the spiritual journey, you really have to develop a greater level of honesty with yourself. You really can't bring yourself into a greater degree of presence in life, or be fully present in your life and free of the past and its pain, or free of projections into the future, unless you allow yourself to be fully and authentically what you are within yourself. So this is one of the benefits of doing shadow work. You don't need to be afraid of yourself anymore. And another part of that is that other people won't have so much power over you. So when someone says something like, "Look, Marcus, you're half mad, nobody likes you, you're stupid, anyone who's smart could really see that the stuff that you're doing is ridiculous," or something like that. Well, I've already looked at all those things within myself, the belief structures about my being stupid, or not being smart enough, or being half crazy, and I've come to terms with those, and I'm pretty relaxed with those. So when people say those things to me, I don't really care anymore. I actually laugh at them sometimes. So that's one of the benefits of doing shadow work. You're no longer scared of those parts of yourself, and it makes you more empowered as a human being. Okay, what else? I've got a few things written down here. I apologise for reading from a script here, of course, because again, due to budget restrictions, my Obama teleprompter is out of action. Okay, you'll judge others less. You'll judge others less because a lot of the stuff you see in the media, it relies on people projecting onto others. When you see someone who's been accused of a crime, it could be racism, it could be something even horrible like murder or incest or some of the worst things that you can possibly imagine. If you've done a lot of shadow work on yourself, you'll see that, well, a lot of this stuff exists within the human psyche. It's actually not that unusual. Of course, I'm not saying you have all these things within yourself. And you're probably thinking, well, Marcus, you're just a pervert if you've got these things within yourself. Well, maybe I am. But from what I've seen from my own journey, a lot of impulses which might be considered unsavory or politically incorrect, including racism and other nasty little things, are really just a normal part of the human psyche. If you don't believe me, just go and look at YouTube stories. Yahoo stories under the comment sections and look at what people have written there. You'll see a few projections there as well, I think. So you become more relaxed about other people. You don't judge them more. You don't judge people so much. And yet, the other factor that then emerges is you don't get into drama with people because you don't judge them. A lot of drama that occurs between you, between me, and other people occurs from your judgments of them. When you judge them, of course they're going to react. They're going to feel violated or unloved. And feeling unloved or unaccepted is what lies behind the pain of the majority of the human race. So coming to terms with your own shadow will pull you out of drama with other people. And just imagine how great that is. You don't have to go through all that bullshit every day at work or with your parents or siblings. All this nonsense about, I don't love you, you don't love me, why don't you pay me more attention, you're a bad person. It just doesn't matter anymore. So that's the great thing about shadow work. Okay, so when you do this shadow work, you develop a more loving relationship with yourself and with other people inevitably. You don't transcend the shadow. I don't believe you transcend the shadow. It's always there. So I still feel a lot of these impulses within myself. I still feel anger, sadness, fear, and all that kind of stuff. I sometimes have bad dreams, but all I do is I work gently with that energy. So it becomes a part of me, and I own it more. To believe that you're going to transcend this stuff is a bit of a very subtle mistake there. It's like, I'm going to get rid of this stuff. You don't get rid of it. You just become more comfortable with it, and you become more comfortable with yourself. And you become more comfortable and loving with humanity. Okay, so there's some of the good things. Now let's look at some of the drawbacks of doing shadow work. Okay, firstly I'd like to say, this stuff isn't for everyone. Okay, not everybody really wants to, has the kind of temperament or the introspective nature to be able to do this kind of work. And it's true, you do need a high degree of courage. So if you don't have that kind of courage or willingness or commitment, which it does take those things, then just move on to some other process. There are many paths to the mountain. Shadow work isn't the only path. Okay, it helps you, and also doing that shadow work. This is another benefit, by the way. It helps you pull out of your own story. The story of being a bad person, or the person who's not loved enough, or the black sheep of the family, the person who has to carry all the burden, whatever your story is, it helps you move out of that. It helps you move out of the story of your people and your family, and even the collective stories of humanity. So you can just become more real. Okay. Another thing, before you do this kind of work, you need to ask yourself the question: do you really want to take the red pill, Neo? Remember, in the Matrix, Morpheus gives Neo the question: do you want to have the red pill and move into the world of the real, or take the blue pill and go back into the Matrix? If you take the red pill, metaphorically speaking, and do shadow work, you're going to see more of the darkness within yourself and other people. Do you really want to see that? Ask yourself that question. Okay, remember this thing also. Shadow work has it does not have any intrinsic reward. You know, God is not going to reward you because you do shadow work. It just has some of these extrinsic benefits. So don't think that because you're going to be all courageous and tough and do shadow work that somehow you're going to become better than humanity, or God is going to reward you. If you do that, you're going to get stuck in shadow work. You don't get stuck in it. It's not the goal of the spiritual journey. It's just an indirect possible path that you can take. Okay, just remember that. Shadow work is not the end. Don't get stuck in it. Don't take it too seriously. And that's the other thing. You don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take shadow work too seriously. Just seriously enough so that you acknowledge it and you understand it and you're truthful and honest with yourself. But don't take it so seriously that you become scared of yourself and then become scared literally of the shadows of other people. That would be just be self-defeating. That would be stupid, wouldn't it? Okay. There are some other false motivations of doing shadow work. I mentioned trying to get rid of the darkness within yourself. You can't get rid of stuff within yourself. If you get rid of it, it's a self-rejection. Oh, good, I've got to get rid of this Oedipus complex that I have, or this Electra complex. You don't get rid of it. You just gently acknowledge it, okay, and then love it. So don't make that mistake. Okay, yeah. Another false motivation. Proving to yourself that I am a bad person. Oh my God, look, I knew it. I knew that I was a pervert. I found all this sexual stuff in my psyche. Oh, I'm a mass murderer in the making here. I can see it. I kind of got into that trap myself. Who cares if you're a potential mass murderer or a rapist? As long as you're taking responsibility for that energy, you're not going to project that out onto humanity. So just wander around saying, I am a rapist, and I'm proud. As long as you take responsibility for it. Just in case you're going to do something irresponsible there. And my lawyer is on standby, remember. Okay. The last false motivation for doing shadow work is morbid curiosity. This is like, wandering into or breaking into the local morgue, for a good time, just because you find CSI entertaining. It would just be stupid. This is not fun, really. I mean, you can make it into a kind of a playful game, but doing shadow work is not for the morbidly curious individuals amongst us. So don't do it for that reason, please. Okay. So what is the right attitude to shadow work? Well, the right attitude is just playful discipline. Take it seriously, but not too seriously. And then laugh at yourself, okay? And use it as a means to move into further presence, into the truth of life. Shadow work is not the goal. It's just part of the path to get there. Okay, thank you. If you have any questions, send them to me here at the 5 Minute Mystic, and you'll should see an email address somewhere appearing here very shortly. Okay. Have a good Christmas. See you next.